probably are competing
They are
now.
they do
exactly.
Today.
Yeah. They are doing it today.
You are going to, on a day-to-day basis, do they become more important than the Prime Minister? Because he has a different view, and when the governor or the mayor is looking after the city, or city of Manchester, or city of Hamburg, or city of Barcelona, don't they become more important for you?
You'll be very surprised. I have not seen two cities that are the same. Okay. It's unbelievably a fragmented environment, but beautiful because of the diversity of it. Okay. I love what I do, don't get me wrong. I get to meet and I get to travel like crazy, but I really enjoy it. I go to Germany, we talk about the refugee situation. I go to Australia, we talk about the death of the auto industry. You know, but the important client is not always the same. Sometimes if we're talking about a transportation project in some of the cities, this is a federal budget. So we need to be getting federal approval. Yeah. Then the Prime Minister and his staff become important. In other cities, the cities are very autonomous. Or the regions and states are very autonomous. So it differs.
So let's project ourselves, say, 15 years from today. Imagine that today is 2030. What is an average successful smart city in your view? What are we going to be seeing? Because we'll all be there in 2030.
I'm very biased.
Okay.
I love Dubai.
Yes.
I've been living here 21 years,
yeah.
and there's no other place I would want to live in the world. Dubai's Sheikh Mohammed, His Highness, he said smart Dubai is going to be about happy people.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? It's the same thing I said here. It's about the people. It doesn't matter what you implemented. I think the smartest city is the city where we will have the happiest citizens living there. Okay. Now, how do you measure happiness? That's a complicated story. But I think in general, people have to enjoy the low crime rates. People have to enjoy the public transport, the good health services, the good education available for their children, and so on.
So what are the big innovations that we'd like to see in the next 5 to 10 years to give us that happiness that you're talking about? Because are we living in a happy environment today? I'm not just talking Dubai, I'm talking about smart cities in general. I mean, some of the cities that when I was doing my research, Kansas City in the United States, Barcelona, Hamburg, Adelaide, Bangalore, Dubai, these are amongst the top league.
Yes.
What makes them higher than the rest, and how can they remain happy?
In every industry and every business, you usually have the leaders and then the mass and the laggards. And I think these leaders came early.
Okay.
And they came with a strong vision about, taking the leap of faith. And I think that's mainly it. By the way, the developments and progress varies a lot between these cities. Dubai is very, very advanced. When Sheikh Mohammed announced the Dubai Smart City, Dubai is already smart. In my opinion, look at the infrastructure, look at the airports, look at the roads, look at the metro. I mean, we all live here, we all understand. So, I believe Dubai is definitely well ahead in many of these areas. But as far as future innovation, I go back to your point. I think the world of healthcare is going to see 20 years that we haven't seen before. And the reason is, if you look at the data of the world, people are living longer.
Yeah. 60
is the new 40, right? Everybody says that. Okay, so 80 will be the new 60, and 100 will be the new 80.
Yes.
So people will live longer, but they want to live a better quality of life. They don't want to live in hospitals. So healthcare will be transformed, in my opinion.
Okay. So let's just transport it into our lives. There are lots and lots of SMEs here. How will young companies, what do they need to do to tap into this ecosystem that you are building? How do they engage? I mean, they run retail shops and cement companies and banks and financial institutions and real estate stuff. They're doing these disparate jobs. How do they tap in?
Last week I was in Australia. I went to Sydney, Newcastle, and Adelaide. We have a very big project in Adelaide to replace 55,000 auto industry jobs. And the example I give is in Newcastle. Newcastle is a very small city, 170,000 people, but it has a port that ships the largest number or the largest amount of coal worldwide. In Newcastle, they have a very visionary leader that wants to implement a lot of smart technology to create, interest in the city, to attract young population back in. And he tells me, so can we get an application developer company that to do the lighting for us, another company to do the parking for us, and another company. I said, I'll help you with all of this, but I assure you, in 5 years from now, all of these companies will be local Newcastle companies born here. The point I'm trying to make is, as you create this smart city infrastructure and platform, and you share the data, you will encourage a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of startup, leveraging this data to create the services that we now see from Google Maps, from Waze, from other places. You will have local companies because they have access to the data. They'll do it a lot cheaper, a lot faster, and will be tailored for this environment. So I think Dubai is creating that platform. The data will be shared with the developing community. And then the other thing is, look for companies like Cisco, where you have relevant intellectual property that adds value to our business, and we will incorporate it in our ecosystem.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into that, because is there any company here that has ever reached out to Cisco or tried to reach out to Cisco from a technology aspect? Anybody here? So there are no technology groups here, right? So again, there you go. You're not doing your job. All right.
Somebody's not doing their
job. All right. So you're non-technical organizations, but all of them are going to be integrated within your technology grid, won't they? In some way, shape, or form, they are affected by it.
Allow me to also defer, because we are a commercial organization with limited resources. It's not
only $58 billion of limited resources. Thank you very much.
Only $58 billion.
Okay. Don't forget data like that.
When you approach Cisco with intent to work with them, you also have to think of what Cisco will ask back for. Sure. What's in it for me? Be ready for that question. So because I get approached a lot.
Sure.
If I'm not ready for the question.
So let me put it in a different way. What do they need to do? Maybe it's education. Maybe it's looking towards the technology space. What do they need to do in terms of being ready for the future? Because with smart cities, with augmented reality, with virtual reality, with Moore's law moving as fast as it is, how do they remain engaged? What are your thoughts on that? Is it education?
I mean, being educated is always important for anything you do in your life. So that's, I think I think that's a constant. I think being ready for change. If you look at the companies like Kodak, I mean, you've studied all these case studies, so I'm not going to repeat them. Everybody here has studied Kodak at a certain point of their career, but be ready to cannibalize your own business. That's the only way to survive. That's a very painful, there's another painful way of saying it, and excuse me, I don't want to offend anybody, but be ready to eat your own children. That's how we do it internally. We create business and we shut it down, because the next one will come and succeed. And I can't create a new business if I can't kill the old one. So that's very, very difficult to do. I'll give you many examples. Today, if I manufacture computers, do I want people to go on the cloud? No, because nobody's going to buy my computer now. Now the cloud is going to be the only cloud. So what you want to do is you want to create a cloud business, and you want to kill your computing business to be able to create your cloud business. So to stay in the game, be ready to cannibalize your own business.
Which is a nice segue into management and management style and the cultural things that take place in an organization. You say that your number one role in your job is about talent and people rather than technology.
Yes.
Would you like to share more on that and inspire us with some of those elements?
I am very, very passionate about leadership and about people development. I think there is no leader that is not passionate about people development. If I want to leave a legacy, professional legacy, I say I want to provide value to leaders that can multiply that value to others. It's very important for leadership to be what I call adaptive leadership style.
Put up the slide if you want to. I anticipated that.
If I can explain the curve for a second. Organizations go through a startup phase, hyper-growth, maturity, death. That's the natural shape of any organization, any business. In Cisco, we have internally 1,000 of these curves. Every business is a curve. And every business at the maturity, before maturity, tries to reinvent and create their next curve. So you have curve after curve after curve, and that's how you keep going up. By innovating, by cannibalizing your own business to create your next curve. That's the idea. Now, nobody sends you an email and says, by the way, today you have reached maturity stage. That doesn't happen. You have to, as a leader, find this out. You have to recognize it, and you have to be brave and bold enough to say, I'm going to start a switch. Now, going back to leadership, depending on which stage you're in the curve, your business, your leadership style has to change, has to be adaptive to that stage. If you want to pull the brakes, you want to stop the company from going bankrupt by making too much commitment, taking too many orders you can't fulfill, and going to jail. You want to be the guy that stops that. In maturity, now you're turning, you're nearing death, you want to be the developer. The guy that will encourage good ideas to come out of the company to get to create the new curve. Developer in people, developer in talent, developer in ideas that will fuel that curve. Notice something. It's always, always contrary to what you're supposed to do. The entrepreneurs are worried about cash flow and they keep on saving money. That's not the culture you want to be in as a leader. Hyper growth, you find lots of leaders stand up and beat their chest. That's not what you want to be, the opposite. Why? Because that's easy. Anybody can lead a company with a growth like this. You don't need a good leader for that.
Yeah. It's amazing. I think that's an amazing analysis of adaptive leadership. Thank you very much for that. Because we've all grown up with these sigmoid curves, one after the other. And adaptive leadership within this context, coming from somebody who manages smart cities and Internet of Things. In terms of technology, one or two more things in technology, and then we'll start opening some questions to the audience. What is the next big thing that you're looking for or expecting to happen as an innovation in IoT or in smart cities, which will fundamentally help you change to make people happier?
So that will not be aligned with Cisco.
Which is fine.
My opinion is my opinion.
Absolutely.
I am honestly not sure about this self-driven vehicles, and I am not sure where this is going to take us.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. I don't know if this is going to be the future, or is this going to be something completely dumb? I don't know.
Okay.
But I think if it happens, our lives, which means successfully,
Yes.
our lives will be significantly different.
Your children will never drive a car, for example. They'll say, why do I need to drive a car? They'll never own a car. They'll say, why do I need to own a car? So our whole behaviors change, and their water loan business at Emirates NBD is going to disappear. So that's going to be another discussion.
So we invest in lots of things, and we invest in lots of ideas, creating platforms for this and platforms for that. I think this is so disruptive, and it's not electric vehicles, but I think electric vehicles are just other vehicles, because you don't consume it at the pump, you consume it at the source. It's the same thing. At least that's how I understand it. But self-driven vehicles or driverless vehicles can change the way we live every day significantly. Can change public transport.
What about 3D printing? And how did you see that integrating into what you're doing, and how that will change our lives?
I think eventually, probably in our lifetime, the next phone you buy, they're going to email it to you.
Email the phone. It's true. Because 3D printing, you can print your own medicine, you can print your own food.
You buy the phone, they email you a file, you just print it. And you got it. I think this is going to happen.
Can you visualize it? You can. Okay, well, I have difficulty sometimes visualizing that. You see, I'll share a story with you. It's like trying, and I've tried many times. I have bless her, an 80-year-old mother who lives with me. And I'm trying to explain a fax machine to her. And she says, so you put it here, and it comes out there? It's the same kind of thing for me when it comes to 3D printing. So you receive this thing, and you get a computer on this thing. How do you mentally bridge that?
You want me to explain 3D printing?
Please do. That's what we do. But do you guys want to hear 3D printing from the expert? Yes. Okay, I've got the audience with me.
I don't know anything about 3D printing, but I know enough to just get my way around. So a 3D printer takes one of 4 different types of materials that you put into powder format inside them, and it prints in very thin layers, like layer on top of layer. So whatever you give it as a file, the file basically takes a 3D object, scans it, and breaks it down to very thin layer after layer after layer, and sends it to the printer. And the printed layer is very actually dumb if you think about it, but it does the job. It creates stuff depending on the material you feed the printer, and depending on the quality of the printer as far as how thick every layer is, and depending on the speed and the color. These are the 4 different variables of 3D printing. The printer could be $1,000, maybe less, to $10 million. So whatever is $10 million today will be $1 million in 6 months, I think.
Okay, cool. So we've seen how Cisco started as 2 people trying to connect with each other to a massive global corporation at its height, $500 billion, $58 billion in the bank. So, it's a great company. We've also touched upon smart cities as being sustainable cities, happy cities. We also touched upon urbanization, and we then went on to talk about Internet of Things and how everything gets connected to everything else, and there's a grid, and you can tap into that grid. So here's the context of everything in your environment. We also spoke about talent and people and management. So these are some of the elements. Is there something else that you'd like to talk about? Then we'll open it up to the audience, and then we'll get into the next stage of your life. Have I missed anything?
No.
No? Great. I haven't missed anything, and I've done a little summary. Okay, some questions. You got the man? Any thoughts? Can we have some mics together, please? No questions?
Hi.
People are too scared to ask. Yes, sir, please.
Can I?
This gentleman here has one question. One mic here, please.
There's a question in there. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned the Internet of Everything, or ubiquitous computing, and you said that actually the ecosystem is made by, think, data, and process. In this ecosystem, what is the strategy of Cisco? Is it to be acting in every sphere of this ecosystem, or you need to team up with actually local partners to have the data and to have, for example, data science company who can actually transform the data into value, a data product, a value-added product?
So, our strategy in Cisco, we are the best company in the world that partners. You know that. I mean, we have a great reputation. We built the whole business about partnering. Cisco does not do any business directly anywhere in the world, by the way. Very, very limited. 99% of our business is done through our partners. So we have built a culture inside the company that is very good in partnering. Similar to this example, nobody can have the whole stack of everything needed. We like to be what we call the Switzerland of technology. We like to enable others. We like to enable use cases. We don't like to provide end-to-end, but we like to be the platform that allows for it. So we will partner for sure.
Ma'am, you had a question, please.
So I'm from IBM. Do not have a question, but I just think it would be criminal if I don't clarify a point on Watson. It seemed from the discussion that Watson is just there taking data everywhere. So it's an important distinction that we need to understand whether you're a company or a doctor. You feed in a certain amount of data to Watson, and based on the data that's been fed to the system, Watson is going to provide you the insight that's going to help you make that decision. And the second point about jobs being replaced, when we consider 2 points, 50 billion devices by 2030, and 98% of the world's data in the past 2 years that's been created, it's humanly impossible for any individual to make sense of it. So that's why Watson is just going to help you become smarter.
Thank you.
So,
I totally agree with you. I think Watson will make us very smart. I was being controversial intentionally because 98% of data will go away. And the key point, if I may just take this question, the key point here was that 98% of expertise can go to a cancer expert. So as humans, we're left with 2%. So we're getting much more into the touch feel and back to basics, where Watson can do the hard work, and then we can do the soft work. And I think that is where I was going as far as that thing is concerned. So as human beings, our touch and feel becomes even more important, and art and culture and those things become really, really primary going into the future. So the future is great. Sir, please.
Hi. Incidentally, I'm sitting at the Cisco table, but I don't work for you. I want to inquire about what Cisco is going to do with SME, planning and incubation. How would an investor like myself tap into Cisco's partnership to create new businesses here in Dubai?
Great question, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
In Cisco, we invest in funds that invest in SMEs, if that makes sense. So in the US, we do a lot of that. Here, it's very hard to find these funds that are available to invest in SMEs. We've looked at this. We are looking at setting up an innovation center here in Dubai. We have not yet finalized our plans with regards to that. It's a little bit complicated, but we're trying to put the innovation center in one of the creative areas where the SMEs operate out of, so that we can tap into that talent and support the ecosystem. We're in the early days of that, but 100% we're going in that direction.
Great question.
Is the innovation center technology driven, or is it a business incubator?
So the innovation center has 3 levels inside it. First level is around the research. What ideas are needed in this market, and are they feasible to build? Second, let's build with the ecosystem the solutions for these ideas. And third, let's showcase them and take them to market. These are the 3 levels you have inside an innovation center. And that's what we are working on here in Dubai, all 3 levels.
Another question?
Hi, my name is Kishore. Actually, I'm a reseller for 3D printers. So currently, we are an early adopters of 3D printers, but unfortunately we see a lack of knowledge in the people or in students. It's not taking in a way we expected, basically. So we are trying our best, conducting the workshops, bringing the awareness in students, universities, but students also they're interested when you go and buy. We ask them to buy because of the price or whatever the reasons. They're not ready to adapt the technology.
The question is, sir?
So these challenges, how can we, in early adapters, how can they overcome those challenges?
Any business is like a chain where you are as strong as your weakest link in that chain. 3D printing today requires a PhD to operate. You have to have training to know how to take a file from format A into format B, right? The printer you buy cheap is very limited at what it can offer you. I mean, how many little dogs can I make for my daughter? Okay, after the 2, I'm done. So this is not yet a business. It's a bleeding edge technology, not a cutting edge technology. So for commercial scale, you need all these things to kind of iron themselves out and become resilient. And we're not there yet.
Yes, sir, at the back, please.
Hi.
Speak up, please.
Hi, I'm Hassan. I'm an entrepreneur. In terms of identifying the next wave and turning around the culture and organization, and if you could share one example where you had faced a similar experience and you had to turn around the organization.
Absolutely. This is a great question. Thank you very much. It's a very difficult question. To identify the next wave, you really have to, I think it's from the gut, not from the science, not from the brain, in the sense that you always know that there is something not 100% right. There is some weakness somewhere. You've got to be the first one to challenge yourself before somebody else comes to challenge your business. You're going to ask yourself the difficult questions about your strategy and how solid it is for the new stage of the market. This is really what you need to do. There's no specific pattern. The pattern is you feel there is a weakness in your market that is about to come and be exploited. And you need to exploit it for yourself, not to be defensive and protect against it. That's the first thing. The second, in my experience, an example. We did an acquisition, not a positive one, about 7-8 years ago, where we thought that all the building systems in all the buildings around the world should move to the internet. That was a great idea. There are heating, ventilation, lighting, so many systems in buildings. It makes sense to move all this on the internet, which is happening today. So we bought a box, a company that makes a box. It just converts these systems to our language. And we thought this was going to be very good business. This box was commoditized in less than 6 months from when we created it. It was such a simple technology with absolutely no strategic value in the building. We made a wrong decision because we are box people. It was easy to buy a box, but it was not the right thing to do. But we paid money for it. And me going back to my CFO and telling him, sorry.
One last question. You want to ask a question?
It doesn't work that way.
Please.
Hello, hi. My name is Jacinta. I'm from Etisalat, and I'm leading the SMB marketing and propositions. My question is that as technology companies, Cisco and Etisalat, I mean, it's pretty alarming to see that a lot of people, especially the SMEs, do not understand the value of these innovation services. Because today, what we are doing is that to ensure that we get the basics right, to make it convenient for our customers, make it affordable. And so I'm just looking at your curve. How do we go to that next stage, that revolution, that innovation, and to make these services, make it real for the SMEs? Yeah. So I think this is very key because even in Etisalat today, all this IoT and digital services, we call it, it's mainly targeted to the big enterprises, large enterprises or government projects. So how do we work together to make it real for these guys?
Thank you. So, how do we make it easy for this lot?
So I agree. I'm sorry. I think this is a mass play, not a big company play. No big company will dominate IoT. IoT is just a name for a new industry that will be populated by startups. Uber did not get created by IBM or Cisco or any big company. Small ideas that disrupt existing businesses. You find lots of these coming up every day.
So we have now reached that stage of this conversation where you are in this amazing, amazing position at the peak of your career, and you're at amazing inflection points to build the future. If we project you to your 80th birthday, 85th birthday, I wish your children were here today.
60.
Your new 60. What will we be saying? What will we be celebrating in your life? What's the legacy that you're building?
Personally, I would like to be celebrated for the values I have as a human being, for living by my word, for being honorable as much as one can. And for my family, I like to be celebrated as a husband and as a father to honorable children that will contribute positively to the world. And as a professional, I would like to be celebrated as a leader who gave value to other leaders who were able to multiply it to others.
Amr Salem, thank you very much for that wonderful answer. Thank you. It's a great privilege to have him, and he's been very